Let me see if I can find the. Nope, not yet. There I am. Well, I'm trying to let it there. I can edit it now. Hold on just 1 second. So today is Monday, February the 24th. And we're going to share it to the internet and to memories and live videos. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Neva's in, Carolyn's in, Brittany, George. Okay. Going to be a beautiful day out there. It's, I think it's going to get to 70. It's going to be pretty all week for a change. 73 is the high today. Tomorrow 74, Wednesday 75, Thursday 67, Friday and Saturday are 72 and 76, Sunday and Monday 75. So clear sailing. Let me get back to the Ginger is in. Good morning. Okay, so what's going on this morning? I don't know of anything. Did they ever figure out what happened at that either car lot or mechanic shop or whatever it was in Mansfield? MAN. Mansfield shooting. Farmer, it was an employee, that's right, somebody told me that. Charged with murder. It made the nationwide news. Yeah, it was a car lot. I wonder what that guy, boy, a Hispanic guy. RK Auto Sales. I don't know who that'd be. When I did work for him, which was a long, long time ago, it wasn't somebody named RK. I wonder if the people that were dead was the owners. He's in the Forest Hill Everman jail. Well, it doesn't say if they were. I'm sure they were the owners. They probably fired that guy. It's on YouTube. WFAA, let's see what they have to say about it. Triple shooting. They're all going to say the same thing. Yeah, it's unclear what led up to the incident. I'm sure they were going to probably be the owners. Oh well. So while we're looking at that, let's see if there's any other stuff on Channel 5. People are going crazy about MSNBC firing that lady, whoever she was. Dan Bongino, I've talked to him on 2 or 3 different occasions. I've never met him. He was knocked off the air or something. He used to be on Fox, and they must have had a falling out or something. Here's another airplane deal. 2 in-air aircraft emergencies in Arlington Airport. Why are they? I mean, I'm sure these things happen all over the United States. It's got something to do with Trump firing those air traffic controllers or whatever. My theory. So that's all that's there. Okay, so back to my home page. She needed to be fired. Michael was in. Okay, so we talked it up a little bit more yesterday about this picnic that I've kind of floated the idea out there to be held at this Yellowsnake Horses River Ranch, Brazos River Ranch. So I will start a list today of people that would like to, Marilyn's in, or Michael's in, people that would like to attend. We'll do it on a Saturday. I'll just close that day and we can leave this area around 9 o'clock, get there about 10. It's an hour's drive in Millsap. And I thought it'd be neat. Everybody bring a dish or, you know. So I know it's going to depend on the day. I will hear from the lady that owns it. She owns 180 acres out there. And find out if everything's copacetic with her. She told me they had picnic tables and all of that. And if somebody wanted to bring somebody that wanted to ride a horse, you can do that. She charges like $75 for an hour and a half. I think that's very reasonable. So once I narrow down that information within the next day or two, then I'll post a link, or I'll start posting some prospective dates on Saturdays when some of y'all can attend. And when we start that list, if you sign up and say, yeah, I'd like to come, and put what you're going to bring, we don't want 8 different people bringing potato salad. You know what I mean? Michael's in. Also, today, I brought research material and a city directory from 18, hold on, 1888 and 1889. That's from the Carnegie Public Library. And we're going to try to locate some of these madams, where they lived, just people back in the acre, because it was still going full-fledged in 1888 and 1889. Well, this thing is so brittle, you have to put something underneath it to catch the little shavings. But I went ahead and looked up Mary Porter, and they list her as a Mrs. She lived at the corner 1116 Rusk at the corner of 11th. Rusk became Commerce. Rusk was also the street where the cattle drives, when they got close to town, they would come right down the middle of Rusk. So there are her customers. And she later owned a hotel, and we're going to see if we can find all of that. No, I haven't looked yet. Her name was McIntyre, right? Let's just look it up right now. Porter. So we'll go back to the M's. McNally, McMilton, McLeod. It's not on here. Wasn't it, Brittany, wasn't it McIntyre? Let me look and see what you sent me. I can't even find you. There you are. You must have sent it on text message. In fact, I remember you did. You're the only person I know with a 405 area code. McIntyre. There's not a McIntyre. And there's not a Eunice Gray. I'm going to double check that. First MC is McMaster, McMasters, McMichael, McMillan. There's about 10. McMurray, McNair, McNally. So let's look back to Eunice Gray and see if there's the C's. The back's broke on this thing. You can see how brittle these pages are. We're in the L's. So people say, why don't you take those books and have them rebound or whatever? I'm scared I'll never get them back. There's stories out there of people that are in that business, and so when cities or counties or municipalities send their books of record, they don't get them back. And they say, oh, somebody lost them or whatever. Well, they're worth a lot of money. Like these voter registration books I've got. I bought 20 of them from 1880 to 1900. Everybody that registered to vote in Tarrant County and Fort Worth. And 1994, there was a Christie's auction. I actually didn't get possession until 1995. I paid $3,500 a piece. That's $70,000. That was it right at 1990. No telling what those books are worth. And they're stamped City of Fort Worth. The city secretary signed them. In history, you got to kind of have a couple of proofs. You got to have some kind of lineage or proof of what you're saying. And sometimes when you're talking about Hell's Half Acre, there wasn't any. like these madams. They didn't leave memoirs, or if they did, they didn't get reserved or saved. Okay, so I'm at the G's. Her name was what? Eunice Gray. There's some Grays. Dr. F. Gray. Fanny Gray. I wonder if that could possibly be her. Frank Gray. His profession was occultist, OCULIST, and AURIST. What is AURIST? Arist. Brittany, somebody look that up. Let's see what we're talking about here. I never heard of it. My aunt, who y'all know was the first female serial killer in Tarrant County, I think in Texas. She was part of a religion called I Am. Look that deal up. You talking about some weirdos. Well, UNT has some, but the best are the UTA special collections. My uncle's collections are at UTA, Jack White. You can go to Special Collections Department, UTA, and look up Jack's photos. William Gray. There was three William Grays. Seaburn Gray. Seaburn, I've learned, back in the 1800s was a common name for men. How's what? Seaburn. This guy was a clerk at W.A. Hoffman Implement Company. W.A. Hoffman was the first white millionaire in Fort Worth. William Madison McDonald, Gooseneck Bill, was the first African American millionaire, not only in Fort Worth but in the state of Texas. Nope, it's not there. So I don't know. This is right at 1900. She died in a hotel fire, her hotel, in 1905. So I wonder why. I bet she listed her residence at that hotel. Hold on just a second. I think I've got a picture of that hotel. Okay, I'm looking at her stuff. It says death and identity. After the fire showed that Gray's estate was valued at more than $90,000. That's in 1905 money. There were no letters or communications to verify her family or her origin, or where she had lived between 1901 and 1909. Well, I don't know where she lived in 1900, because we've got the city directory. See, a lot of people try to connect Eunice Gray to Etta Place. Y'all know who Etta Place was. she was the woman that both Sundance and Butch had affairs with, or whatever. She's the one that went to South America with him. In fact, it says the well of Fort Worth madam who wasn't really at a place. Let's try to see what hotel. This says she was born in, that she died, she was born in 1884, was a brothel and hotel owner and operator in Fort Worth from 1909. She is best known for her belief that she was at a place, the former girlfriend of the famous outlaw Harry Longabaugh, and also the Sundance Kid. For many years there was no known photographs of Eunice Gray, but two photographs recently were found that appeared to demonstrate that she could not have been at a place. The Waco Hotel was her hotel, and it was listed at 110 East 15th Street. So, you know, we've talked about Hell's Half Acre. That address is going to be down there in the convention center area. So, her hotel, she's the only madam that we had that owned a hotel. And $90,000 in that was 62. Trying to get to the W's. This deal is turn it page by page. There's the W's. There's more W's. More W's. God, there's a ton of W's. Okay, here's closer W's. Wall. Wagner. Let's see if it's got any. It doesn't show WT or anybody either. Okay. No, it was not around in 1890. So that was a lot of money. Photographic evidence. I don't even see that there's any photos. In January 1962, Eunice Gray died in the fire which destroyed the Waco Hotel, which she still owned and operated at 110 1/2 East 15th Street in Fort Worth. Nope. They don't know where she lived between 1901 and 1909. They don't know where she lived before 1901. Because she would be listed. That was a big thing, you know. You figure 1898, 1899, how much stuff could you have to do back then? No movies, no picture shows. They had live, you know, like live stage shows, like an opera or something. But I mean, all you could do is work and drink or raise the kids. And back then, families were complete by the time the woman was 15 or 16. They had already had 3 or 4 kids, because you didn't live that long back then. A lot of people lived to the 19 till they were 40 years old. But then, you know, there was no antibiotics back then, none of that stuff. So, let me see if I can find the live feed. Well, I called AT&T yesterday, and everything's working today. I guess they done something to it. Okay, so let me piggyback in on somebody. I've had a lot of people ask me how far Buck Taylor and I go back. Way. I've been doing detail work for Buck, but I knew him way before that. The Pope update. The Pope's not in good shape. I think there might be a coming to the end. Okay, and I still can't find the live feed. There it is, but that's not the same one y'all are on. Here it is. Okay. Yeah. So what was $90,000 in today's money from 1962? Well, Etta Place was actually kind of girlfriend to both of them. I think Butch Cassidy and her were connected before the Sundance Kid. And in the movie, y'all remember the movie, Robert Redford played one of them. She was more than just friendly to both of them. I don't think people looked on maybe love triangles as hard as they do today, or in the 70s or 80s. Probably today they don't think anything about it. But back then, there was only X number of women out here in this newly developed country. And so, you know, the mail order bride business was real big. That's where the guys that owned ranches or had done good financially, they would send to Boston or sometimes overseas. So I've researched it a long time, Brittany, and I think that she at the very end was with Sundance, but I think when it first started off, and you can look up Etta Place, there's not a lot of information about her, because when I first started researching stuff in the 80s, everybody in Fort Worth thought that that Etta Place was Eunice Gray. Their photographs kind of looked similar. And there was a restaurant or something down there on Main or Houston, and they actually advertised. I mean, they didn't advertise. They would have a drink special, the Etta Place, and it was called something Etta Place. So, yeah, the morality laws stopped in the eastern part of the country. Those people could not believe when they got down here to the south. Hey, Bill, good morning. So, and, you know, like I've told y'all, after they robbed the bank in Winnemucca, I think I've got that word down now, the gang split, and two of them rode down to San Antonio and picked up two of the call girls that worked for Fanny Porter, and they brought them back to Fort Worth, where there was either 3 or 4 of that original group. There were 6 of these prostitutes that always hung out with the Wild Bunch, and they definitely shared. And in fact, they were so close that the apartment, it's called the Maddox Some people think it was called the Maddox Inn. I'm going to look and see if the Maddox is in here. One of the prostitutes actually lived in that. She kind of left Fanny Porter and came to work for Mary Porter. Maddox, W.T. Maddox, that was a real estate company. A lot of Maddoxes, but no Maddox Hotel or Maddox. It was on Main Street. But none of those addresses work. So, anyway, so that apartment Charlie's in had to have been pretty cramped because you got either 5 or 6 of the prostitutes and at least four, and part of those 60-something days, 5 of the Wild Bunch, 12 or 13 people. And there was 4 rooms. I've seen a picture of it, and it was on the 2nd floor, and it overlooked the photography studio for Joseph Schwartz, who took the photo of the Fort Worth 5. So, but I've got the names of these madams and these more famous prostitutes, and today we'll see if we can find them. They might even be in. I brought 1 or 2 of these voter registration books from the 1800s, 1892 and I think 1894. We'll try to figure out. I can't find my Sanborn fire maps. The Sanborn Company would come into a town and they would plot the downtown area or the town square, and they would go and individually at each business or home and try to write down information about what was in that home, what it was made out of. Of course, everything was made out of wood. So that if there was a fire, that insurance company or whatever insurance company you had, and there wasn't many of them, could figure out what their estate was worth or what the stuff in that house was. And they would list furniture, plates. If somebody was wealthy enough to have a silver settee, which 2 of the bigger madams, Mary Porter had a silver set that they served. They tried to make these brothels look as much like a real fancy hotel. Rather, the Crib Girls, that was 25 to 50 cents for their trade. There was no door. It was always a sheet covering the hole, and there was either 1 or 2 windows. The holes were there, but there was never any glass or anything. But this Fort Worth history is pretty doggone interesting. I was trying to see, I'm at the part where it's Fort Worth. All the railroad lines are listed. Fort Worth Gas Light Company. Here again, John Peter Smith's the president. Fort Worth Gazette, that was one of the the first two, the Democrat and the Gazette. Here again, John Peter Smith, Vice President. Fort Worth Granite Roofing Company, northeast corner of Rusk and 11th. John Peter Smith, President. Fort Worth Grocer, Vice President John Peter Smith. This dude, he opened the first school. And how did he get here? He walked. He was in Dallas and didn't like it, so he just took off on foot. No money in his pocket. And this story's been verified. No money in his pocket. When he got to somewhere around Mid-Cities area, a farmer saw him, and it was midday, and the sweat was just rolling off John Peter Smith. And here's another one. Fort Worth Cotton Compress Company. K.M. Van Zant, President. John Peter Smith, Vice President. So the farmer said, hey, you look like you're worn out. Come on in. We're about to have lunch. And so then the farmer and his wife, they both took a liking to John Peter Smith. And they said, look, why don't you stay the night here, the rest of the afternoon and the night. We got room for you. And tomorrow my husband will take you in on the buggy. And that's what he did. And almost instantly, he was a hit. Fort Worth Fuel Company, John Peter Smith, President. I mean, this dude did it all. Fort Worth and Tarrant County Abstract of Titles, Office, Maine. K.M. Van Zant, President. Wilson, Vice President. John Peter Smith, Treasurer. So there was a lot of early day. Amon Carter's always thought of building Fort Worth, but really it was these early guys. Ephraim Daggett. You know what? I want to see where. Let's go to the S's and see where John Peter Smith lived. He was killed in New York. Really, there's several stories. One of them was he was going to a play or an opera, and two ruffians were roughing up a lady that was all dressed up, and supposedly he shooed him off or got him out of there, and one of them killed him. But he died in New York. Okay, I'm at the ships. There's the Taylors. There's Schwartz. See, there's David Schwartz. His studio was 600 Main. Charles was, where's Charles? 800. Then the other brother, so 800 Main. The White Elephant Saloon was at 810 to 816 Main. Here's another newspaper, the Sunday Mirror, a religious newspaper. John Peter Smith, President. Be interesting to see what his estate was. This dude was, the town almost probably shut down when he died. John Peter Smith. Let me see if there's 2 pages of him. I can't. Oh, I guess it's just one. Fort Worth Gaslight Company, President, Mechanics and Manufacturers Bank, President, Fort Worth Granite and Roofing, Vice President, Fort Worth City. Vice President, Fort Worth Cotton Company, Compress. His office was at 511 Houston, and his residence was at 702 West 3rd between Burnett and Florence. And this dude, there sure was a lot of Smiths in Fort Worth. Here's Thomas Smith. He was a bartender. Unbelievable. Here's more John Peter Smith. There was 2 pages. City Ticket Agency. John Peter Smith, president. He had his hands in all that bank, Merchants and whatever it was. I've read stories he owned that bank. Came to town with no money in his pocket. 0. That farmer and his wife loaned him $5 or $1 or something. He must have made it stretch a long ways. Money's in. Okay, so today we'll try to find any of these kind of important people during the acre, because this is 1890. This is 1888 and 1889, so at the front of all of these city directories, they have miscellaneous directory, and it tells Fort Worth Street Railroad. That's the railroad that ran from the old courthouse to the TMP. It was chartered in 1876. Capital stock was set 50,000. 6.5 miles of track. General offices were at 808 Main. Stables, because all of those early day trolleys, they were pulled by mules. Stables was at 904 Main, corner of Front and Lamar. K.M. Van Zandt, President. Walter Huffman, Treasurer. T.E. Bowes, Secretary. John Peter Smith, Investor. But it'll have, there's that Merchants and Manufacturing Bank. And so John Peter Smith owned it. E.E. Chase was the vice president. That Chase Court over there off the Hemp Hill area, that was named after him. K.M. Van Zandt, Robert McCart, James Brown, Max Elsner, Martin Casey, William Harrison, they were all board of directors. Queen City Street Railway. Fort Worth was called the Queen City of the South. Spanish Moss Manufacturing Company. Ephraim Daggett owned it. The Commercial Club of Fort Worth was chartered in 1885, membership 200. Unbelievable. And then they have, this was all their street, Fort Worth Street Directory. I wanted to get to where they have the churches and stuff. The miscellaneous directory on the square bounded by Belknap, Weatherford, Houston, and Rusk. Tarrant County Jail was the north side of the courthouse square. A. Neely, jailer. W.S. Burton, deputy jailer. Tarrant County Poor Farm, 4 miles east of city. D.J. Warren, overseer. N.D. Talbot, physician. The next county election takes place on the first Tuesday next after the first Monday in November 1888. Tells the county commissioners, justice of the peace, notary of publics, state government. There's one deal though that has churches and stuff. I was going to see what it claims are the first churches. If I can find it. It might not be in this one. There's a church directory. First Baptist Church, southeast corner of 3rd and Taylor, Reverend J. Morgan Wells. Services 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Sunday school 9:30 a.m. Prayer meeting Friday at 7:30. Doesn't say what day, when it was started though. Southside Baptist Church, Little Bethel Sunday School, Mission of First Baptist Church, Christian Church, northwest corner of West 6th and Throckmorton, Methodist. People lived a lot different than they. Oddfellows, Union Lodge meeting, Queen City Encampment, number 103. That sounds kind of. The Fort Worth Masonic Lodge, number 148. That was the first one. Chartered January 14th, 1855. Membership 220. First and third Sundays of each month. Sam Furman, Mr. Field, S.W. Zane Setti. Zane Setti is a relative of one of the ladies that's on the board at Pioneer Rest Cemetery. Zane Zetti, Z-E-T-T-I, he played an important part. He was like a John Peter Smith. He was a little bit behind him, but probably 10 years from this, probably 1900, he was the big shot. Knights of Honor, miscellaneous societies, Knights of Pythias, Fort Worth Opera House, north side of East 3rd between Main and Rusk. George Dashwood, leasee, manager was William McCart. William McCart is not the person that McCart Street's named after. That was named after Robert McCart. I post pictures of his house. His house was a mansion. He was a lawyer. Okay, here's some of these churches and societies. Altar Society of Saint, it's a Catholic church, organized 1883. Membership 60. Christian Ladies Relief Union of Christian Church, organized 1887. Free Reading Room, 302 Main, established September 1887. Hebrew Ladies Aid Society, organized 1887. Ladies and Society of First Baptist Church, when was it organized? Doesn't say. All of these churches had a different group that was the ladies. Ladies Society of Broadway Presbyterian Church. Ladies Society of First Presbyterian Church. Ladies Society of St. Paul M.E. Church. Ladies Society of First Baptist. Ladies Society of Cumberland Presbyterian. No telling who actually owned this book back in those days. Then it tells all of the state senators. City of Fort Worth, Morrison and Fermies. First person listed was Abby Green. I guess her last name was Abby. A lab assistant, Barney Abbott. Her name was Green Abby. God, what a weird name. Yeah. So I'm sure there's some people that still have relatives that lived back then in 1880s. This guy was the baker at the Hotel Pickwick. This one works at T&P Stockyards. Don Adams was the chief of the Fort Worth Fire Department. He stayed in a room over the northeast corner of 2nd and Rusk. So back then, the main trades of business was either the railroad, the cattle drives, or prostitution. Now, when TCU first got here in 1911, I've got pictures of it. They had a building where the school they taught lessons, and then they had another deal that was their dormitory, and I guess it was co-ed dormitory back then. And so finally, when they was in the middle of Hell's Half Acre, and Texas Christian University trying to teach folks Christianity, I guess, they figured they better get out of the acre. Let me see if I can find those pictures. You just go to the main group page and let's put TCU 1911, because there's a lot of stuff under TCU. There's the 1911 varsity baseball team. I might not have. Oh yeah, temporary home of TCU 1910-1911, 200 block of East Weatherford. So that was in the acre, and they moved out of here. Now, this was, I believe this photo was actually where the school is located now. That was 1911. There's no trees. None of these photos, there's hardly any trees. Okay, here it says photo of the day. This was the laying of the cornerstone of the administration building of TCU. This is a great photo. Can y'all see that? See all those people? So when they started building buildings, they would lay a cornerstone, and they would put stuff in there from the time, some of the money from that time period. There must have been 400 or 500 people out here. Seen at the cornerstone laying of the administration building of TCU. And it was 1911. Let me see what else. There was their only entertainment, the Majestic Theater. That was across the street from the First National Bank. So in 1930, when they had the bank run, that was where that was their entertainment. It was like a opera, it was like a stage play or something. The first TCU yearbook, I have 5 of them. The school has 0. Here was it was 1912. That was the main, that's how the ladies dressed, I guess. It's 1912. That's the first TCU yearbook. I own 5 of them. They don't have any. Here's First Methodist Church in 1911. Downtown. That was one of the first churches downtown. There's the first courthouse, or that's not the courthouse. I don't know. That's just 1911. That's 1911. You can see the streetcar. That was not an electrified streetcar. That was a mule-driven or pulled streetcar. This is the big fire in March 14th, 1911, the Stockyard Fire. Damn near burned north side to the ground. Everything was made of wood back then. Here's Polytechnic College, September 1911. Poly originally started as TWC, different than the TWC today. Here's a picture of Diamond Hill School in 1911. There was a poem that was written in 1911 by a TCU student when they were going through vaccines and smallpox. See, those people had lived through a lot of stuff. And this person ended up dying with smallpox. Okay, here, y'all hear me talk about Fort Worth University. They had a art program and a lawyer program. There's only 9 known diplomas. They're all big, they're all made of cloth, and I own them all. That one cost me $6,000, I think. Here's relatives of Chief Quanah Parker. This is in Burnett Park, 1911. That was when the railroaders and W.T. Wagner and Samuel Burke Burnett gave Quanah and his family a bunch of money. They really stole their land, and so they bought some of the first cars. This is Main Street, and this shows, if you look real good at this, it shows the old courthouse down at the end, and those tracks are the mule-drawn trolleys that go to the TMP train station, passenger station. But you can barely see the courthouse in the background. That was back when the streets were dirt. Faculty at Poly High School, 1911-1912. That's how the teachers dressed. This is a really neat photograph. This is a newspaper article in 1911 in September, I believe, and it shows the viaduct that was behind the old courthouse. That was when it was made out of wood. Fort Worth Auto Supply Company. That was when they didn't sell auto supplies. They sold, lubricating oil, greasers, polishes, electric horns, tires, Columbia batteries, vulcanizing, free air. That was when I've got the first auto show program in 1914. And it lists the first 600 cars. Here's Polytechnic School in 1911. There's the old Niles City Courthouse. Richest city in the United States at the time. Now here's the first airplane. There's a deal over on Carroll called First Flight Park, and they say this is the first plane that flew into Fort Worth, and that's a lie. And I told them before they even completed it, that was the first plane that flew in Fort Worth but was not built here. It came in by the railroad. The first plane that flew in here from somewhere else was August of 1911, and the guy was a daredevil called Cal Rogers, and he landed over in Ryan Pasture. That's the first plane that was flown in here from somewhere else. And on those wings, I've got the photograph, but it's hard to take a picture and show it. It's so grainy. There was a man and a woman on this wing and a man and a woman on this wing. They were barnstormers. There's the fair. They had bought Dimity, whatever Dimity is, 2 magazines, 4 books, powder, CHE, whatever that is, and it came to $1.82. It's hard to. I've got probably more of the old letterheads and stuff like that than anybody. I've got volumes of them. But I've been collecting 42 years this year. This is out of my uncle's collection, Jack White. This is of that Stockyards fire. March 14, 1911, a disastrous fire destroyed Stockyards horse and mule barns, killing about 500 horses. Within a few months, construction began on a fireproof barn built of brick and stucco, completed March 1912. The new horse and mule barns had a capacity of 3,000 animals. This photo was made on August 15, 1911. That's from Jack's collection. You can see my uncle's collection on UTA, or Fort Worth, The Way We Were, the city website, and go to, it has all these listings. Go to Jack White. That was okay. Now y'all know what I know. Alright, so we're gonna sign off and get this dog and pony show started. I've talked an hour. Don't forget, we've got to have donations. This week I got to get donations. Let me see. Today we have 130,986 members active right now. So this is the question of the day. These big slides, the only one I ever saw was on Seminary, by Seminary South. But they say there was one on 28th Street, there was one 2 or 3 places. So I asked people to say where they found them, or where they... Jackie said Jacksboro Highway at University. David says Jacksboro Highway at Ephraim. Debbie said Seminary South. Bridget said Seminary South. But there was, I've seen where there was 2 or 3 other ones. I remember the one at Seminary South. I don't even know who set them things up, or God, there's probably 8 or 9 people could slide down them. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 or 13 people could slide down. I remember they gave you a blanket, and that thing was made out of metal. And if you didn't keep your arms and elbows in, or have a long sleeve shirt on, man, they burned the hell out of your arms. So that's the question. That's the question of the day. That's a good photo of Casino Beach. At the Casino Beach, the largest roller coaster, it was called the Thriller. It was a mile long. They had a bathhouse that every season over 100,000 people would swim. And it was right on, it's at Casino Park. You see the Thriller? It was made out of wood. The highest point was 72 feet and the lowest point was 4 foot. They had 4 cars, and they would hold, I think, 8 or 10 people per car. And it was, when it first opened in 1917 or 18, it was a nickel to ride it. It was called the Thriller. Okay, I got to get something started, even if it's wrong. Let's do our sponsors. There's Yellow Snake Horses, Brazos River Ranch. It's always hard for me to pronounce that thing. That's where we're talking about having a group picnic at, maybe in the spring. She owns 180 acres on the Brazos River, but you can call that number and take your kids or grandkids or whatever and go horseback riding, and it's like $75 for 90 minutes. Eric Walsh is one of our real estate sponsors. He's also on the board at Larry's Kids. He's a good guy. He's really a good guy. I haven't known Eric but a couple of years, but he's really a good guy. A Bird AC and Heating is Dub Peacock's company, Dub and his wife. So if you've got heat or air problems, or you think you might, call them and set up an appointment and have one of their specialists come out and take a look and tell you what the status is. Steve Coburn, Coburn's Catering. The Coburns have been around in business, cafeteria or catering. It was just cafeteria to start in 1946. I personally have known the Coburns since 1960. Here's another real estate developer company, Burt Ladner. Wes Williams is associated with that group. Wes is also on the board of directors at Larry's Kids. Wes and Sarah are always giving back. I mean, it's amazing. This is Dickie Carr, Richard Carr's nephew. His company is Grateful for Your Trees. He called me the other day and said, Larry, tell the people I need business. So if you need your trees trimmed, firewood, a tree cut down, there's all the stuff he does. He's in his 30s. He's a good guy. I like him. There's his uncle, Pat and Richard Carr, on Dickie Carr Sand and Gravel. They're always involved in a lot of civic duties or helping people. They also were the first anybody that wrote a check to Larry's Kids for $5,000. That's pretty special. Fort Worth Lumber Company. They're off the South Freeway, or it's 35. If you need building materials or plans, or just go over and pick their brain about building, that's where they're at. Express Dent was started, and I guess still part owner is Dick Regester. We both started our businesses 40 years ago. But Dick lives in Florida, and his operating partner is Eric. They're on White Settlement Road, kind of across from Autobahn BMW. I got the hiccups. Brandon Cross Electric, another family-owned business. We pride ourselves on support Fort Worth businesses, and especially the family-owned ones. Keep it all in the city here if you can. But if you need an electrician, Brandon Cross is the person. All of these people are the people I recommend. Jenny Stewart is our State Farm insurance lady. If you've got insurance with Farmers or Allstate or anybody like that, call Jenny and let her team give you a quote. You know, you might save some money. Old South Pancake House, we've all eaten there. The Benson family has owned it since 1962. It was started in 1958. And yesterday I posted the menu, and the first group that owned it, it was called Smitty's Pancakes. And it was a chain. They were not just in Fort Worth, it was all over the country. Dave Benson bought it in 1962, and it's been owned by the Bensons ever since. Rex Benson. K Ranch Roofing is Jorge Hernandez. They've been roofing sponsors. I think this is their third year. I thought a train was coming through the window. They're using a blower over there to blow off the pickleball court. So if you think you might have roof damage, don't try to go get a ladder and get up there. Call K Ranch. You'll talk to a lady named Bree, and she'll send one of their specialists out, and they'll tell you good, bad, or indifferent. That's Old South again. Passport Getaways, if you're thinking about taking a trip in the summer, or a junket, or going to Europe to see the Eiffel Tower, book a cruise. Let Passport Getaways do the legwork. All you got to do is supply the money and then go take the trip. Optimist Club of Fort Worth, that's an international organization. They do all things with youth, athletic, baseball. They do locally. They give away scholarships to TCC. They're good community partners. Charlie Guerin, Railhead Barbecue. Charlie is our state rep. He's also on the board of directors of my Larry's Kids. Longtime sponsor. We eat at his place a lot. He's real active in the giveaway, the bicycle giveaway. Charlie's a good guy. His brother Pete runs the Sid Richardson Foundation. Rains Plumbing, that's another family-owned business. They're in the plumbing business. We've gotten a lot of good reviews on people that have used them. So if you got any plumbing issues, call Rains. There's Rex Benson's another company. It's called Rex's Bar and Grill. It's in the old Macaroni Grill, same shopping center or same parking lot as Old South Pancake House. So if you pull into that parking lot, 1500 South University Drive, you're going to be doing business with one of Rex Benson's companies. Casey Crawl, or that insurance group, is our Medicare and Medicaid folks. They do a tremendous job. Don't try to navigate that stuff yourself. Call somebody that knows what they're doing. Swartz and Hanson are our architect sponsors. Jerry Swartz and his partner have been volunteer sponsors on our group forever, and they've also been involved in the bike giveaway every year for 7 or 8 years. Danny Stroud and his wife, they have Stroud Auto Supply. I actually bought supplies there when I was a kid, 16 years old. They're in the Haltom City, Riverside area. There's Swartz again. Feltz Family Auto Care. They're in the Burleson area. Mike Feltz and his family and all of their employees, their team. Every time you ask anybody, they've got good things to say about Feltz Family Auto Care. G2 Garage is in the White Settlement area. Chris and his team are always there, willing to help. They treat customers with respect, explain things to you. Just good all-around folks. Alpha Design and Build, that's Lance Sanders. They'll remodel your house or your business, or they'll add a second story to it. Call Lance Sanders. Fort Worth Florist, there's Jeanette and her team. They did a superb job at Valentine's Day. But you can send flowers for funerals, weddings, just to tell your wife or husband you love them. Fort Worth Florist, they're way out on Camp Bowie. All you got to do is make the phone call. They do all the delivering. Scott Sumner is our IT guru. He will build you a website. Any technical issues, he's the guy to call. Clay Winstead. I've been doing business with the Winsteads 40 years, but I knew Clay's daddy before Clay knew him. Good folks. They're on White Settlement Road, just past Roberts Cutoff, across from those new Crystal Springs apartments. Here's my favorite. Our little four-legged friends. Be sure, and now the weather's warmer, so you can let them out. Okay, so what else? I will see y'all back in an hour or two. You can drive by, make a donation. You can come by and just shoot the breeze. I'm here till 2.